Welcome to the show. This is the Agave Social Club Podcast. I'm your host, Doug Price. My guests today are from an exciting newer brand, Elevacion 1250. I'm here with the founder, Todd Hummel, and brand partner and Maestra Tequilera, Ileana Partida. Guys, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks to you, Doug.
Todd, you played it really well early on from the beginning. You would engage in my content. You were always so supportive of the show. And then you kind of dropped like, hey, I'm also working on tequila. And at that point, I thought, man, I really like this guy. He's so kind to me and what I'm doing that I want to check it out and see what is going on with his tequila. And then I hear who's involved with it and making it. And that just makes me go, hey, I really want to check this out. Todd, you are from Canada. The landscape is a little different from the U.S. regarding access to tequila. What was it that first drew you into the world of tequila, and how did Elevacion 1250 come to be?
So, first of all, thanks for having myself and Eliane on, and have been a very, very big fan of yours for a long time. Actually, just as I was starting to think about getting into this business, I was following you. So you certainly had a lot of great tips and some great information, and you continue to do so. For me personally, tequila, to your point, I live in Toronto, Canada, although traveled the world, and I would say my second favorite home is probably New York, and then third is Guadalajara, Mexico, or Amatitan. I've had a passion for tequila for quite some time. I used to, in my previous life, I was actually in marketing communications, very specifically public relations, and I used to travel with, hold for laughter, the Canadian equestrian team. And one of our stops was actually, I did public relations and media relations. One of our stops was in Monterrey, Mexico, and also Guadalajara, Mexico for horse show jumping events. And I was fresh out of university. And as you know, back in the day, the stuff that we were drinking, no names mentioned, was pretty harsh. And the way we were drinking was not the way we're supposed to drink it. Anyways, long story short, tequila comes to the table. All the clients are sitting there. And I'm like, last thing I want to do is shoot tequila even before we eat dinner. My beautiful client leans into me and she is like, we don't drink tequila like you Americans do. We sip it. I was like, all right, let's try this. And I remember falling in love with it. And for the life of me, Doug, I cannot remember what brand it was, unfortunately, but it was a Reposado, and I just remember being beautiful. I'm going to give you some context now. Back here in Toronto, in Ontario, we're a control state. Patron hadn't even hit the market yet, so you can have a good idea of the kind of tequila. So I've always had a passion for it, and the way of getting it was either from the U.S., ordering it from the western part of Canada, where they have a little bit more education as far as agave spirits as a whole are concerned, or in Mexico. So, about 5 years ago, I was making a great tequila cocktail for my buddy at his farm, just a little bit north of the city. And he literally joked and said, you should just get into the tequila business and start your own brand. I was like, very funny. I just happened to know a gentleman. We were actually in the industry together at the time. This is a few years ago. Mark Lewis, who Ileana knows really well because he was actually who introduced me to her. He jokingly said, after we tried to launch an RTD in Canada, he jokingly said, well, why don't I just put you in touch with our master distiller and we can go from there. I'm like, sure, whatever. Not exaggerating, 10 minutes later, Ileana and myself and Mark were on a WhatsApp conversation and she responded immediately. So the rest is kind of history. We were actually kind of in the pandemic, so I didn't get to meet Ileana face to face as of yet, but we did a couple of calls. We did some emails back and forth. With the pandemic, I had the idea of kind of, all right, let's hunker down and figure out what I really want to do. And then once we were able to travel again, I made sure that my first visit out of the country was to Ascendador, or the NOM 1522, which is Ileana's beautiful distillery.
And I just want to point out, so you talked about, we sent out this message and pretty quick, she's responding. Ileana, I've heard that before. I've heard my good friend Marissa, who speaks so highly of you, saying, I messaged her or had a question and didn't know if I'd hear back, and immediately she responded back and we started talking, and I believe you guys have developed a friendship as she just respects you so much. So man, good on you for really being hands-on and engaging with it, because communication is so important, but I know that you are very busy. Todd, what was it, your friends, family, you start going, hey, I'm gonna do this from Canada. What did some of them? You had one buddy saying, "Yeah, do it," but did you have some other friends go, "What are you doing?"
A lot of people, and I'm a little bit older than I look, if I can be completely honest with you. So a lot of people were like, "Wow, this is what you want to do for the end of your career." I'm like, "Absolutely." And my wife, 100% behind me. I had a lot of friends that were 100% behind me as well, Doug. But the other thing, as far as knowledge or lack thereof, as far as agave spirits up here is concerned, and consumers in general, I think we've come a long way thanks to people like you yourself, of course. But all of them were like, "Oh, where are you going to make it? Are you going to make it here in Toronto?" I'm like, "Oh boy, there's a very very big a big peak to climb as far as that was concerned." So I did have a lot of support, and I will say this much is that the opportunity that I had and the first sit down that I had with Ileana, I think really that was what inspired me to not turn back and do this. And the reason being is, to your point, she's very open from a communication standpoint. And one of the things that I will tell her directly is one of the things I love about Ileana is that you can just sit there and you can go back and forth and you can ideate. I'm like, what if we do this? What if we do that? And that's one of the things I was looking for in a master distiller, to be completely frank with you, because, it was, and I'll throw kudos where kudos are due. It was right at the point that Siempre had moved over to 1414 as well. And I remember chatting with Alex, and he actually,
Fellow Canadian.
fellow Canadian, all around awesome dude, and absolutely love their product as well. I think moving to 1414 was a stupendous move. And I remember saying, it's like, hey, I'm in conversations with Ileana Partida to be my master distiller. And I quote, and I can show you the email someday. He says, "If you get that badass boss, you are in the right space." So I was like, all right, let's make this happen. So Ileana and I met, and, I remember I think we had about an hour or something. And we just she canceled some other plans, and we spent a long time together just kind of, coming up with what the profile was, what I wanted to do. And to be completely frank, I was actually, I think she'll laugh at this. I was actually ballsy enough to say, I want to call it Ileana as well and pay respect to you. And the look on her face was like,
The
no.
same look she just gave just now.
Yeah, exactly. She said, "I'm willing to do a lot for you," but that was, I said, all right, that's fine. That's cool. We'll come up with someone else. So
We're starting to see more and more distilleries that remind us that they are capable of making really great tequila. Hacienda de Oro is one of those distilleries. Ileana, your fourth generation tequila producer. I'm sure you've got fond memories growing up with your family involved in this industry. What are some of those early memories that you've probably? I mean, it's in your blood. You've grown up around this, but what was it like growing up?
Well, fun and sometimes not that fun, right? Because family business is really complicated at standpoint of communication skills. I think nobody teach you how to communicate, and on a business family, sometimes it gets complicated. We all have egos, we all have self-esteem, we all have a lot of things going on. So, but I do have very good memories from being on a distillery, learning how to bottle and learning how to taste tequila, but without tasting it because I was too young to do it. So, I learned how to rub the tequila on my hands and just smell it and try to say if that smells good, not so good. And with my brothers, they were very competitive in the agave fields. For example, I don't remember to be on the agave fields because I was the only female on the family. So I was on the bottling line, and that's the place that you belong. So I was a little bit against at this when I was a teenager. I was like, I don't want to be in this place anymore. I want to be right there on the first office, and I want to hear all about it. So I start learning English in a better way to try to translate to my father and start having negotiations with their partners in USA. And that's the place where I say, like, I want to do this. I want to start the translations because you know about the family history and the Partida brand and everything that happened. And I was on those negotiations. So it was very enlightening to me to know how important is to be completely honest since the beginning and what you're capable to do, what you're not willing to do. So that way you have like a really clear standpoint or starting point, and that way you can develop a very strong relationships after many years. and to be honest about yourself and to be honest with your customers, like what are your capacity, what are your, how many agave fields do you have, if you're going to be able to grow with them, if you need some partnership at some point, to be very clear. And I think that helped me a lot and made me the woman that I am right now. And I am very proud of every detail that my parents told me and teach me all these years. And well, if I now have more, a little bit more responsibilities, I'm honestly honored to do so.
But you said, I want to get off the bottling line. But it's not because of my
Please.
ego. Because if you had ego, you would want a brand of tequila named after you, and clearly you don't want that. Todd, I'm sure as you're getting to know her and you're hearing and you're really diving into, I mean, there's history. There's only a handful of families, and there's probably more than I know, but families left that really do have a history and a story to tell. And as you're learning, going, she's one of these families. How much, I'm sure that just excited you to go, hey, I'm partnering, and not just having her make your product, but you've brought her in and go, hey, I want to partner with you in this, and really, this is ours. This is not mine. This is ours. But what was that like as you continued to find out about the legacy and history of her family?
It's actually it's wonderful, and I think Ileana. I'm not speaking for Ileana, so I hope she would agree to this. Is I think we've built a relationship now where there's the business side of the relationship, but we just have really good conversations. We confide in each other on a lot of things. I can point back to a particular moment a couple of summers ago where she and I were on a Western Canadian tour, and I had her on 7 different flights, I think, in a span of 6 days. And I said, like, hey, like, do you want to just not take the next flight and I'll rent a car and we'll drive from this point to this point? And it was a 3 hour drive. And that was a big, like, we're going to be in a car together for 3 hours. And I don't think we shut up the whole time. It was just like great conversation back and forth, finding out about her family, finding about her legacy, the distillery itself. I was privileged enough. She invited us to the 25th anniversary of the distillery, and that was a great time. Met other brand partners that she had. Met a lot of great people. Good conversations. Finally got to meet her mom. I hadn't met her mom before, so that was pretty awesome. It is really interesting to find out the history of the family, but also, if you look at what our brand pillars are, we are really about kind of legacy, respect, and determination. And I'm not joking; those are the 3 words I wrote down on a note paper when I left the first meeting that I had with her, because that's what I saw in her. So, as much as the legacy of her family, I also want to respect the fact that she's one of very few female master distillers and CEOs of her own distillery now as well. So the stories that we share and the business conversations that we have, I still think there's so much more to learn as well on both sides of that. So I'm really kind of, thankful that we have that kind of relation to have those kind of conversations as well. And it also means that, we've got some really good conversations around some cool stuff that we can do. I really think that there's a lot of conversation around, what's hot and hot topics in the industry, especially these days. But I think, yeah, I think innovation, and that's one thing that I look to Ileana as far as innovation is concerned. Our Rosa, we're pretty excited about, because we're actually building out an entire program as far as our Rosa barrel program is concerned, because we're thinking about different ways of doing things. So much so that at the end of kind of the barrel life cycle, we're actually selling them back to microbreweries. So from a sustainability standpoint, to ensure that that barrel sees a lot of life. Those are conversations that she and I have on a regular basis that gets me excited about the industry, but also kind of ensuring that her legacy is in stone for years to come.
And Ileana, I'm sure as you're sharing about your family and on a 3 hour car trip, you are just as equally excited to hear about ice hockey and Tim Hortons and milk in a bag and all things Canada related.
Don't forget ketchup chips as well. Ketchup chips, we own that.
That's a thing.
That's a thing.
Yes,
Ketchup
for
potato
sure.
chips.
I think the most exciting part is to know that we're not that different, right? I think that's what gets me really excited. That at the end of the day, I'm crazy, he's crazy, or even more crazy than I am. So that's what really bond the relationship. Yeah, and it's pretty cool because it doesn't matter where you grew up, or I mean the minds think on the same way, or you look for the same values in your partnerships, and you have the same ideas of how to respect the family or the problems inside the family or whatever that you are capable to share. And I have this perception of we're not that different, and we can do something great together, and we can actually be in Canada, in Mexico, and feel like family. So I think that was amazing to share with him.
Yeah, I think, we talk about Siempre and Alex. I've got a project I'm working with them, and he was gracious enough to let me name it. And, I did Conexiones. And the idea that two things. One, we're all connected from this, how we enjoy tequila and want to honor and respect it, but then also the connection between a blanco that goes then into a barrel, and that connection to reposado and añejo. And but that idea that we're all connected, and it doesn't matter where we live, it doesn't matter what our childhood was like. If we're passionate about something, we're very connected to it. And it's awesome seeing you guys and your friendship, and as the brand continues to grow. Ileana, how's your family's legacy influenced the way that you make tequila today?
Well, in every single aspect, because in a good way, in a bad way, in a good way, of course, they teach me how to the fermentation works, or what an alambique should be working, or how the tequila should be tasting. And in a bad way, because they also tell you things that you think that's the only way to do it. And then when you realize, or you travel to other area and you find out that there's many ways to do it, then you think that, like, oh, they lied to me. And I was so dramatic about it. So like, you lied to me. But no, it's everyone is different. So I think I was a little bit too I don't know, crazy to start pushing them to try new things. And tradition and innovation sometimes doesn't go on the same phrase. So that's what I wanted to do. Like, I want to have respect for the tradition, but let me do a few things extra. Let me add some new barrels. Let me add some new G's. Let me add some new, whatever I'm capable to do, let me do it. And that was not an easy conversation, of course. And what if the batch actually doesn't taste any good? I mean, who's going to pay for it? So those are strong conversations, not only about who says what, but also who is taking the risk of this tequila, and what is going to be the price point, what is going to be a lot of questions that are around. So, but I think we made it after so many years of these conversations, and we are, as Todd says, every day learning about ourselves, about the industry, and that it is not the only industry. We keep learning about the scotch, the whiskey, whatever is out there that can teach us a little bit more about our process, or the relationships, or how the trends, or how the spirits about everything is developing through the years, and through the families that are working inside, and how can make this better, because tequila and every spirit is about connections. That's why they were invented, right? To just share stuff.
Yeah, I think, as you continue to push, I had a brand on the show not too long ago, and he said, I toured so many distilleries, and I always asked, why do you do things the way you do it? And he said, pretty much over and over, they gave one of two answers. It was either, well, because that's from a cost standpoint, that's the most effective and efficient, or they would say, because that's the way it's been done, that my dad or this. He would say, that's not good enough. Just doing it just because it was done the way the generation before, he wanted to push in and ask questions, still honor, still keep. And it sounds like that's what you're doing as you're getting to go, hey, I'm stepping into this. You're getting to ask, well, why are we doing this? And if they just say, well, that's just the way it's always been done, it sounds like you're going, no, I want to continue to dig.
Yeah, totally, totally. And that is very uncomfortable for the people that you're asking that question, right? Is that like, what do you care? That's shut up. And it's very uncomfortable, but I love those conversations so much that I try to be as nice as I can, as kind, as open, as honest, as respectful as I can, so they don't feel uncomfortable and they are willing or open or try to use my psychology to let them just see the other way around.
Todd, was there anything as you guys were looking into it and you're going, hey, maybe we tried this, that I'm sure she already said, well, maybe I've thought about this, or this might get, I don't know if we want to take this to the family just yet, or anything as you guys were kind of early stages working through it all?
To be honest, I think, we've always had those open conversations. And as far as the, let's get innovative conversations concerned, so far, everything that we've brought to the table, Ileana has certainly had a sentiment of excitement and kind of like, yeah, let's like, try it. Certainly, a couple of our barrel programs are, uh, I try not to use the word unique in this industry because I think it's overused, but are a little bit different, a little bit innovative. For example, our Blanco Rosa that we made, it only rested in the Napa Valley French oak barrels for 15 days because we bought the barrels like wet. They still had a bit of wine in them, and you've seen the color of it. And it's just like, all right. And I remember some people in the niche industry going, well, your agreement with that winery now is you have to buy the same barrels, the same wet ones every time. I'm like, yeah. So I now have an agreement. And Ileana, I think, was pretty excited about that. When she said it was coming out after 15 days, I'm like, are we okay to do that? She's like, listen, she goes, it's great. So yes, we can do that. So I think, and if there's ever pushback, I mean, obviously I am not a master distiller. So I always look to, I look to the expert in that field, which is something I've learned in this industry. It's like, if you don't know how to do it, you might as well find somebody who knows how to do it well and pay them for it. So I think that's what's really important about kind of being innovative. I think a lot of brands out there are flirting with innovation right now. So it's nothing new, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of fun in it when you can kind of be a cluster of first to market. So certainly, I think the conversations that she and I have are always kind of like, yeah, we could give that a try, or no, let's kind of figure it out. Or there have been times where I've said, hey, what do you think of this? She goes, I'll get back to you. Let me go do some mad scientist stuff, and I'll get back to you. So that's the kind of cool interaction that we have, where I'm like, all right, you go toil, you go have fun, and let me know if it's a really really stupid idea, or if I'm way too passionate about this industry. Which does lead me to the point about passion, Doug, because you had mentioned that. I think you know I think more private labels need to come to the table with a little bit more passion. There are, I mean, this as well as I do. There's new tequilas being launched every week. What's behind it, right? Is it because there's tequila is like, the fastest growing spirit category in the world, or is there something a little bit deeper? And I think that's where you get to connect with a master distiller like Ileana and share that passion.
And again, it's not you're just contracting, she's making it, you get it bottled, she's every step of the way on a branding side, on seeing this continue to share it with people, and that does make a difference. That really does make a difference. Ileana, we're seeing more and more amazing women get into tequila production, which I love to see. You guys made a comment about, it's still, we don't see it, this is still a lot of men in the industry. What's something that people may not know about the work that goes into, being a maestra tequilera, a female producer, or just working in this industry?
That probably there's way more women than you think in a tequila industry, way more, way more. But probably there's someone else taking credit for her job. So I think that's something that you don't see, because if you, and another thing that there is no actual statistics about it. So the last time the Tequila Chamber starts sending us some questionnaires, this is the first time that they actually ask, how many women do you have in your facility? And when I saw that question, I said like, oh my God, that's so great. Because this is the first time that someone is asking, like, is this a real thing? Or should we worry about this? And I love that question. They haven't showed the results, but I think that's great. That means that someone is paying attention and that someone cares. And at some moment, you will realize that women are as much as innovative and disciplined and constant as many other guys in the industry. So you just have to ask some questions if there's some female in your facility, if they're not. And more important, what is the role that they are making, right? Because it's very different to be on the bottling line or to be in the negotiations actually with the other clients. So that's very important, and I really love that people care, to be honest.
And I think Todd and I will both agree that anytime we have an idea and we bring it to our wives, they usually have a better idea. And so
Yeah,
I'm I'm
you're not far off on that. You're not far off on
usually
that.
they're
Yeah.
almost
Common
always
sense, guys.
there's always a
Yeah.
better idea. Well, I think also for you to think in that way, because and I've even heard brands go, we have a lot of females in the bottling area or packaging because they're so detailed and they're so, I mean, they can focus better than men. And so I see that aspect of it. But I think when you start to look at, when they say, well, how many women do you have? I think it starts to get you thinking, what other areas could I give opportunity to the women around here, and whether they're on a bottling line or in an office or something, to go, hey, let's let them shine a little more, which is a special thing.
So, Doug, I will actually add to that. First and foremost, in the 3 years that we have been working with Hacienda de Oro and Ileana, there is only one male that I've ever dealt with. Everything else has been, and no, and I'm not just talking like bottling and like we're talking logistics, we're talking finance, we're talking, and I think kudos definitely goes to a CEO like Ileana, who I think. Now, correct me if the number's wrong, but it's around 60 or 65% of the staff at Hacienda de Oro are women, and she's in fact closed the wage gap as well. And I always like to joke when I'm out in public speaking with Ileana, it's like she's managed to pay the men the same as the women. So I think it goes a long way to say that she's definitely moving the needle in that area. And it's not just on the bottling line. And my interaction with everybody from finance to logistics to sales has just been incredible in the 3 years that I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it's exciting, as I bet a lot of those females look up to you and have seen you continue to just get stuff done and handle business. And so I'm sure it's pretty awesome as they aspire to follow in some of your footsteps, as you identify and go, hey, let's give them an opportunity.
Yeah, that's completely true. And that's like a huge responsibility, because sometimes you feel like, do I actually know what I'm doing? That these girls are looking to me is sometimes it's frustrated. You feel that as a pressure, of course, as an honor. And I try to be, again, really open on my communication, really clear on my goals, and really clear also about asking them what are their own goals, so we can grow together as a company. Like, oh yes, but I study this, but if you only have opportunity on this other area that I don't know, can you teach me? And I've been really open to this conversation about, yes, let's grow together. And probably if it is on my hand, I will lead you to the place that you actually want to be. Because at the end of the day, we see these people every single day. I mean, we are a team, we're a family. So I want them all to be happy. And of course, I know that a happy employee is going to be a productivity employee. I mean, it's a win-win situation. I think this is the great part of being on charge. Again, it feels like a lot of pressure sometimes, and they are so open to me and to actually share my frustrations and go with me hand by hand. So I'm really grateful to have the team that I have right now.
Yeah, and I'm sure they see it and they love it and they go, she's for us. That's what workers want to see. They want to know that the people in charge are for us. And I do believe that the environment is a little different here in America, where we have corporate jobs and go, well, we're a family, and it's like,
Mm.
that corporate job will let you go within a heartbeat and not think twice. But when I'm at distilleries, I really do see, a lot of times when they're having lunch, they're all together. They all I mean, there's a lot more of that family aspect, because there is something greater than just a business, and this is culture, and this is like, hey, I mean, we haven't figured that out yet here in America, but I think Mexico has there's a lot that we can learn from just the culture of being together and really understanding what it's like to work together.
For sure, for sure. And I do believe that Americans and the world, for example, has like a lot of goals on productivity, and they know how to measure things, and they're like really strict, which is also a very nice aspect of the business. I mean, that we have to keep ourselves accountable. So, but there's a good way to keep ourselves accountable and a bad way to keep ourselves accountable. I mean, everything is about the person also. So if you're not happy with what you're doing, then what's the point? So that's also a big aspect.
So Todd, you've identified the distillery, you've got the producer. Tell us about the meaning behind the name.
Yeah, no, that's actually, thank you for the question. Apart from wanting it to name it after our master distiller,
That one got
when I
shot
got,
down real quick.
yeah, when I got shot down real quick, and I'm like, okay, do you want part ownership in the company? And she's like, yes, let's have that discussion. Elevacion 1250, what I discovered later, and I did a little bit of research, so obviously coming from a marketing background, I want to make sure I did as much research as I can. One area, and I'll get to this, one area I didn't do the research in naming will become very apparent when you try and actually say it in Spanish. But Elevacion 1250 was important to me because one of the things I wanted to accomplish, and I think we're doing that right now with the help of Ileana and the help of the industry as a whole, is really educate consumers as far as tequila, where it comes from, the history behind it, the families, how it's actually made and produced. And one of the things, ironically enough, the individual whose barrels I bought that I put the Blanco in for the Rosa, he is in the wine business, and we always had conversations around terroir and climate and location and that kind of stuff. And it dawned on me that people need to be educated about where tequila actually comes from, because everybody just says it comes from Mexico. Fine, okay, let's narrow it down. So I did a little bit of research. The distillery itself actually sits at, and again, I'm going to throw some metric your way, so I apologize, sits at 1,250 meters above sea level, like exactly at that location. I thought, because I wanted to pay homage to where it was being made without having to obviously name it after the master distiller or name it after the distillery itself. So that was a unique way for me to be able to tell the story about the valley, the Valles. Because to me, it's really, really interesting as far as the climate, the terroir is concerned. It actually still is pretty high as far as altitude is concerned. It's not Los Altos by any stretch of imagination. But what makes it unique is the different climates that roll through. And from a Blanco perspective, specifically when it's got nothing but three ingredients, and that's the way I'm going to phrase it right now, it's really unique how every lot can turn out a little bit different based on when you actually produce, when you harvest, when the fermentation is. The difference of a 4-day fermentation to a 9-day fermentation, depending on the climate, is so cool. And that's stuff I want people to understand. So, our job is a lot harder and a lot heavier lifting to do because of the name, because I want to make sure that we get down to the brass tacks of talking about where it's from, who makes it, what makes the valley so cool, the volcanic soil. Like it just, to me, that was the passion and the romanticism as far as tequila is concerned. It's obviously a business at the end of the day, but to be able, if you actually look at our label, the sun that's on top of the 1250. I remember meeting Ileana in her agave fields quite early in the morning, and myself and my business partner Ileana standing there watching the sun come up over the mountains. Even though we're high altitude, they're still coming up over the mountains. And I just remember it was quite a religious experience, if I'm being completely straight up with you. And I wanted it to be in the label itself, so I can tell the story about the valley, where the fields are, where the distillery is, and we really hope that you can come out and see us. But La Palapa, where it just overlooks all these fields, it's such a beautiful experience. And naming it that was kind of an ode to where it's actually produced.
But people don't know what they don't know, and that's why it's important for us to continue to educate and to share. What makes it so special. Amatatan is a special place, and this, we really start to see that tequila journey. El Arenal, and then we get to Amatatan. Ileana, how does that land and climate? I mean, Todd was talking about it, but how does that land and climate there impact how you're producing tequila at Hacienda de Oro?
Well, as he was saying, everything has to do with the profile at the end. So in Amatitan, we have some hills, we have the valley, and we have the canyon. So every single area have different climate and different characteristics, not only on the soil, but also the rocks that are around the agave. So if there's more rocks around the agave, it's going to be smaller, but it's going to be way more rich in sugars, for example. And you need the sugars because that's the only that matters on an agave. So it doesn't really matter if there's like a huge agave. It could be full of water or full of fibers, and you're not looking for those. So you are able to change between one field that is on the hill, one field that is on the valley, and one hill that is on the canyon, and you will see the difference. And that's part of the story of this brand and many other made in Hacienda de Oro, right? The uniqueness that it implies to produce from different fields and in the same distillery. So that way you will have one knob, but with several profiles coming out of it, and not just blending everything in one huge tank to make all tequilas the same. We're not doing that. We have like a tons of tanks and tanks where every single batch is different, and they are able to share and see the experience between every brand that we are producing. Besides that, I will say, of course, that Amatitan is the only one municipality fully inside of the UNESCO World Heritage. Because it is. I mean, it's not tequila, it's not anal. When the UNESCO arrived to the valley and make the polygon, or I don't know how to say that, made a territory that was about to be declared as a World Heritage, Amatitan is the only one that is fully inside of this declaration. Not tequila, not arenal. So can you imagine how proud is all Amatitan of this situation? And why was that? Because Amatitan has 80% of the agaves of the full valley. So that's the reason why. And because I understand right now the highlands are like a huge agave growers, but back then, only the valley had production of tequila and wine mezcal and agave. So the highlands came its own moment, of course, to be a huge player. But this is the reason why we got that declaration, Amatitan, and because the antique distilleries like Cielo Abierto from Caballito Cerrero that are in Amatitan, and that's why it's so important. And I appreciate that Todd also appreciate that, and that he built a brand around that.
It's special to stand there. I just a month or two ago got to go out there and just stand there and have Javier talk about that broken Tajona's there, and
Yeah,
him just talking about you see the holes in the ground where just fermentation pits that they were making 400 years ago or something, just
that's
absolutely
crazy.
crazy. And he was going, this is a Matatan, this is a Matatan. As we're talking about what makes it unique, the terroir, all those things, I've got three tequilas in front of me. I do want to get into them. Ileana, before we get through the process, you've talked a little bit about how you've pushed on some things, and what is it that what traditions do you carry on from previous generations, and what are some of the things that you've chosen to do a little differently?
Well, I've been experimenting a lot with the yeast right now, and how do we ferment it, how many days, if we stop in some way, if we add some heat, if we're not. And what I want to preserve that actually was crushed in the distillery, we used to have brick ovens that at some moment they decided to take them away to be more productive, to to follow this idea of American dream. So right now we rebuilt these oven bricks, and I'm really proud of that. We rebuilt the Taona that I am really proud about. And what I'm going to continue working now is on distillation. So we already make a lot of testings in the fermentation area. We're about to do some tastings, or just to play around with between the autoclaves, the Taona, the roll and mill, the brick oven. And the next step is making continue, I won't call it innovation, but a few changes on the distillation part. So we can either add a few things, a few more ingredients, a few more steps, bigger alambiques, smaller, different metals, or different how do we call, like, yeah, not only using stainless steel, like using probably barro or using probably Filipinos, or what else can we do in that? And that for me will be respecting the tradition, but also making a small innovation in my own facility, because we're going to be playing around between, what if I do a roll and mill, but I add some Filipino at the end of the process? How is that going to impact on the flavor, and how is that going to be tasting it? And if the people will appreciate it or not? And even go even further and probably start asking or using more technique from the sake, from the gin, from everybody else in the world, adding to the tequila to try how can we share knowledge and how that will be impacting on the profile of our tequilas. That's what I want to do.
And since it's your fan, in the fam, that distillery, it's not like you have to go ask and get, another big board to approve. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a lot of
been
opinions
there, done
against it. Yeah.
that. Get over
But
it. Yeah.
but it does give you options, and it gives you options to go, hey, let's continue to experiment. We still have 3 ingredients. We're gonna, this is authentic, but we can still, I always like to say, with 3 ingredients, we can go left or right throughout all these steps of production, still keep it authentic, but it gives a different profile at the end, just depending on, like you said, are we going in copper, are we going in stainless steel, are we doing this, are we doing this? And for you to go, hey, we've got the space, we've got the opportunity, let's continue to experiment and push. I've got this Blanco in front of me. This is really the base. This is where, you go, hey, this is the Blanco. Todd, what was that moment when, I'm sure you tested different samples as you guys were working through it, but do you remember that moment where you guys tasted it and you said, yeah, this is it?
I do actually, and there's a funny story behind that because I remember doing a first tasting with Ileana, and again, this was a little bit of immaturity and naivety on my part as far as the overall world of tequila. But I'm like, Ileana, I want to make a beautiful sipping blanco, and she like literally, dumbass, every good blanco should be a sipping blanco. It's like, all right, fair enough. So interestingly enough, and I know there are some other private labels that would attest to this. When we were going through the tasting, I don't know if you've had the chance to try it, but Ultimo Agave is one of the products out of NOM 1522. I remember tasting that and just going like, man, if we can get as close to this as possible without being that because of her process, I was like, this is it, and it was magic. I know Jay Bear has said the same thing. Mike Winters has said the same thing from Quintaliza. When you get that taste of her pure product and what she started with, I got really excited about what the potential could be. Now, trying to educate consumers again, which is really interesting because, if this is put up against a lot of the big name brands in a control state like ours, it gets tough because people are like, wow, this tastes totally different. I'm like, yes, but that's what a real tequila profile is supposed to be like. And I think it's really unique because it has complexity, and that's what I got excited about. But it also has that simple nature, and Ileana will say this best. It's the way tequila was always supposed to be made and was made. So to me, I think that's what I really appreciate about it. And again, from a climate standpoint, sometimes a lot can be a little bit, funkier than others, and some can be a little bit more mineral forward, just depending on the time of year, which I really, really appreciate. So I'm very, very proud of the Blanco as the base for everything else that we do. And I think consumers need to understand that as well, is that, a good Blanco tequila is the recipe for where you go from there, right? So I'm quite happy with it. Consumers seem to be quite happy with it as well. And it's versatile as well. I mean, I made the joke about like, I want to do a sipping. Of course, it's a beautiful sipping tequila, but it makes a mean margarita or paloma as well.
Yeah, it's clean, it's crisp, delicious to sip on. All this whole past week, I'd be out at different places and ask, hey, let's get this tequila neat. And they'd look at me weird and go, you don't need lime, you don't want salt, and I'm going, no, just
Flick the lime.
yeah, I'm going, just I tried that once and the whole thing spilled, and so
I saw
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I saw
it all
that. It's like, what a waste of good tequila.
didn't do that well. But to enjoy this as it is, Ileana, there are a few different brands that you are producing there. So I'm sure, as Todd was saying, hey, I want it to be, I like that profile, but it can't be that. We've got to do something different. Is that something does that keep you up at night as you continue to push and go, hey, I've got to make sure that we're honoring different brands and wanting to make sure everything is as the best it can be, but not be the same.
Yes, that's keep me wake up at night for sure. And we have this is the conversation that we usually have on the starting point, right? It's like how unique, not how unique, but we of course we already manage some profiles that are out there on the market. There are some that are exclusive. I mean, we agree on that because they're making something special. I cannot get Todd's wine barrels because they're their barrels. I cannot like double use, or I'm gonna ask Todd if we can use it. No, that's only for him. And I try to encourage to every single private label that they bring something new to the distillery, because that way one is easier for me because there's two minds thinking on this project, right? It takes a few pressure, and it makes more unique your brand because you're able to do, hey, I know this guy from this winery, we're friends, we're close, we're blah blah blah. And then that project is going to be way more unique for you and special for you because I can say a lot of things. So that's one way to go. And the other way that I do is, as I mentioned, I have like 7, 10 different profiles that I was blending, and then I can these 10 I can sell like only separated, or I can start blending to each other. So I can have like 100 different profiles just by blending them. Plus, if they are adding in new ideas like a chasol, or they are bringing something unique to their process, it's like way easier that to make my job. And then I focus on consistency. I focus on price points, so it doesn't elevate like massive or anything. We take care of everything. But these are actually the first conversation that we usually have. What do you want? How standard do you want it to be? What is the price point that you want to be? Because I cannot, because if you're telling me that you want to $100 bottle, then I won't give you this profile. And the other way around, if you're asking me for the cheapest tequila, then I will not let you put it into 100 bottle a price point. Is like, why you're not, I don't want you to cheat the customer neither. I mean, if we're going to be like a really unique high-end tequila, let me share or let me show you something unique that works, that actually is worth it. And if you're focusing your strategy on to be competitive, okay, let's talk about volumes, numbers, and what is the exactly amount that you need to achieve to reach in order to have that price point that you want. So these are the first conversation. We actually have a questionnaire for every people that arrives to the facility, and we're not taking all of them because I mean it will be impossible. So that's what I love to speak with people to understand what is their mind, their values, and if we agree to work together, or if we are not, then we're just friends, right?
I do want to add to that very quickly as far as the other private labels that are made out of non 1522. At Ileana's 25th anniversary party for the distillery, there were many of us that came together. Many of us were sitting at the same table. I'll use a couple of names. Number one, Entre Manos, Dos Angeles, as well as Cuatro Copas. We got so excited about being there together at the same table, and Ileana will laugh because we would run into the back, into the bottling room, grab one of our bottles that was just being bottled, go try this, try this. So we got excited, and we all had Blancos, we all had Repos. I think Dos Angeles had already had their Rosa, so they're pretty excited about that one. But the excitement that we had sharing our own tequila made by, for argument's sake, the same master distiller at the same nom out of the same distillery was a really cool thing. And that to me is the community. That's the connection, right? Where it's like, okay, we trust our master distiller enough not to pull the wool over our eyes and go, I'm just going to make. And we got really excited about trying each other's. And I think in the industry as a whole, Doug, we do that as well. And that's the other education thing as far as tequila is concerned. It's like, I'll throw kudos where kudos are due again. I love Siempre. I love it out of 1414. I love it as a Highland tequila. It's like, and it's so different than ours. So when I walk into a store and I see, two Canadian owned tequila brands, I want to make sure that they're sitting beside the shelf on each other. And I've told Alex and Rick, I've told them all the same thing, and they do the same thing. When we walk into a liquor control store up here in Ontario, I want Siempre and ours beside each other because they're the only two tequilas in the entire store that are made with only 3 ingredients. So we're quite proud of that. But then there's that different nuance, the different profiles, which we get excited about. So To your question, as far as, unique profiles out of that distillery, all of the private labels, we're uniquely excited about our products, and we're happy to share them with each other because we have that much confidence in our master distiller.
Yeah, and I love that I mean, just and Alex is one of these guys that you're willing to say the names of other brands and go, like I think when one rises, they all can rise. And sure, there's a business, and we can say there could be competition, but you've always been very clear to go, man. I want to win, but I want others to win as well. And that's pretty awesome. And Eliana, I just actually received today. I have not opened it. I just received a small sample of the Quattro Copas
Oh,
that
yeah.
that I was excited to hear as they reached out to me and said that it is with you now, and so I'm excited to try that sample. This Blanco is delicious, and Todd, to your point, to sip on it or to put it in a cocktail, it is very versatile. Before moving on to the Reposado, you've got another Blanco, and this is your Rosa. You've talked a little bit about it. I think this is a good example of balancing how you have to honor the tradition, while to some degree appealing to a modern global audience. It's we see there's different size brands, and that's okay. Some brands are okay just going, hey, we make this is our what we produce, and it sells and it sells. And there are other brands that go, I want to dominate. I do think that as tequila continues to grow, some of these smaller brands do need to focus on how do we get to that larger audience of tequila drinkers, but also keep the tradition and this being pure. And I think roses are starting to get into that as you guys are going, hey, let's try something different. This is a Blanco, but it's got color. It's spent a little time in the barrels. Is that something you also think about, like how do we reach the maximum? And because all day long we can go to the tequila aficionados, but we really know that that group is small, and to really reach tequila drinkers is a much larger group. So as a brand owner, I'm sure you do have to think, okay, how do I balance keeping it pure, three ingredients, honoring everything that's from the past, but also find ways to innovate. And I think that this Rosa is a good example of it. Can you talk to me a little bit about this Rosa?
Yeah, thank you so much. We and I know Ileana as well. We're very proud of this, and the reason being is that it really did come out the way I think none of us expected, but we also expected, because I think because of the barrels, the way they were, the amount of time it was in there. One of the things Ileana is really, really amazing at is ensuring that, and you'll taste it in the Reposado as well, and some of our other expressions, is that the Blanco still comes through. There's still that minerality. You still get the black pepper. You still, but then the barrel did what it needed to as far as, kissing the tequila, as I like to say, and really kind of making it what it is. As far as audience is concerned, yeah, we want to sell pallets of this, on a regular basis. Our strategy, Doug, has been to go to people who know what to do with tequila and how to talk about it. So we have a very, very large bartender program, mixologist program. And one of the things that we push, and this is our door opener, is the Rosa. So we ask bartenders to come up with unique cocktails or classic cocktails with the Rosa. And then they start to have fun with it, and they're like, "This is cool." Like, I'll be completely straight up with you as far as the other brands that have come out with rosas, the good ones, really, really great rosas. What I love about this is that Blanco profile is still there. The red wine profile kind of marries into it. And then bartenders have such a fun time with it. So as they're making a cocktail for someone, the consumer gets to taste the liquid itself. And they're like, wow, this is really unique. It's like, now try it in a Negroni, try it in a Pisco Sour, try it in an old fashioned, or get really creative with it. So we've gone after bartenders to really talk to consumers and start moving the Rosa product. And then that's kind of our way in as far as the Blanco is concerned as well, because it is the base for it. So it's like, well, if you like this, you're going to like this. So we've had some really, really great reception to the Rosa for that reason, because of its versatility. We've done some bartender competitions out west in both the US and Canada. Florida, the Rosa is like doing very, very well as far as sales are concerned, just because we are talking to it as far as a great cocktail tequila. And it's also about the future of the program as well. So from a sustainability standpoint, we've now refilled the barrels and we want to produce an añejo rosa. And then after those barrels are done, like I mentioned before, we don't want it to be the end of the barrel's life because it won't be good anymore for rosa. We're going to sell those back to a microbrewery that's going to make a seasonal beer out of it, which is kind of cool if you think about, a seasonal beer that had tequila and red wine in it. So that's kind of the thing. It's really having a conversation about, and I'll just say it here, making this our flagship. And the reason being is because it's not necessarily about innovation. It's about what consumers are getting excited about. And I think they're getting excited about our Rosa.
Yeah, it's delicious. It's
Thank
delicious. You know, we've got some French oak coming in here for it. 42%. Would you just, as you were testing it, you felt, hey, 42 is a good spot for where this lives?
Yes and no.
Okay. Okay.
No, it's so funny because as I was, and this is the God honest truth, and it's one of those fun things that just happened. And I was like, I'm filling out the forms for the CRT, for the TTB, for everything as far as labels are concerned, all that kind of stuff, and I had 40 on it. And then Ileana was like, "No, it's almost 43%." I'm like, "It is?" She goes, "Well, I might have forgot to cut it, but it's okay. It's really good." I was like, I'm like, "Yes!" So it was a happy accident, but I think we all knew that kind of like, we were going to end up here anyways. But yeah, it was. And it was only because I was filling out the paperwork. She's like, no, 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 no. She goes, it's 42%. I was like, yes, awesome. So we got really happy about that. Because I don't think, I mean, it's not that much. Like 42 is like, it was just shy of 43, but because of CRT rules and stuff like that, I think it drinks like a 40.
And it's because I mean you don't usually place the tequila inside the barrels at the proof that is going to be at the end of it because of the evaporation, because the interaction that it will have. So you kind of never know how is this going to be coming out. So to be safe, we try to be a little bit higher instead of down the proof that we want it to be at the end. So yes, I mean I could cut it, but he said like, no, 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 I love it like that, just like that. And so like I like it too. So it's your call.
The first person to actually try the Rosa is a common friend of ours, Eli Diamond, from the Beverage Collective. I happened to be, so when it came out, I was with Eli there, but he wasn't able to make it out of the distillery. I remember bringing it back to him in those, the plastic little water jugs and stuff like that. And the look on his face was like, oh yeah, you got to keep it at this. Like 42 is like absolutely perfect. So I kind of got, I have so much respect for Eli, and he and I have great conversations that when he gave it the nod, I'm like, hell yeah, like this is what we're doing. This is awesome. Ileana, she actually said, as I was going to his condo, she goes, if he needs to change anything, just call me. We can figure it out on the phone directly. I was like, nah, it worked out perfectly. So we are very proud of the Rosa. It's going to become a flagship in our profile of brands. For sure, and we're going to kind of keep having some fun with it as well.
Yeah, color, taste, conversation to continue to educate people, to have that conversation of going, hey, this is a Blanco, but it has color, and let me tell you why. And we are seeing more of those hit the market. This one is definitely worth spending some time with. Now, you do have you've got a reposado where we are actually putting a little more time in the barrel to make it a reposado. Now the reposado is not French oak, is that correct? Is that American oak?
It is
Completely
American
different.
oak.
Okay,
I
so
will, I will let the master distiller take you through that one because
yeah, tell
again,
me a
when it
little
came
bit.
out, I was so excited.
Tell me a little bit about the reposado.
Yes, we start putting. I think it ended up at 4 months. I was also kind of open or scared about the feedback that Todd and his team will give about the reposado, because there's a lot of here's something that happens. What I like in tequila is not necessarily what everybody likes in tequila, and as Mexican and tequila producer, you are not familiar with a Canadian palate that is going to be reacting to these tequilas, right? You maybe think that is too smooth, you may think that is too strong. To me, it's very different. So when we took it out, I recommended 4 months because it was like a good spot. I mean, it you have this oakiness, but not overpowering the agave notes. But when I took it out, I remember being also a little bit scared and asking Tola, if you need more time, I can do more time. Don't worry. He said, let me go to Elia and then try the reposado as well. And said, like, don't worry, Liana, this is right. And I was again nervous about it. Not because I didn't like it, because I like it, but I don't know if you're going to like it. If you're used more to whiskeys, if you're like more vodkas, then the profile is completely different. We're speaking about more complexity in a tequila, and sometimes that complexity for people is scary. So this is the good conversations that we have when we try it, and we say like, no, this is a very nice spot. It doesn't lose the personality of the agave, and it already has the personality of the barrel. So I think it was like a very great balance.
Yeah, this reposado, light in color, it that that 4 months, it still allows that blanco to go, hey, this is where I came from, and we do get those notes of the field and the earth and the terroir of it for a blanco, but then we just get those kisses of the barrel to go, hey, let's we're gonna round this out, we're gonna mellow this out, and we're gonna blend it, and it's just a really well balanced reposado that, just like Todd, just like the blanco, a good sipping reposado
Mm-hmm.
to really sip on this. But I could also see this play well in a cocktail.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, you mentioned color. I think, and Ileana, I remember exactly where we were all sitting at the distillery in the tasting area, and our other business partner was there as well. And we looked at the color, and I think for a moment we all looked at each other going, is it too light? And then we're like, but then you taste it and you're like, absolutely not. It did everything it needed to do. And it's also another way to have that conversation around what goes into your tequila as well. I think 4 months in a barrel is, it's a good amount of time. It's not, we're not pushing it by any stretch of imagination. The barrel did what it needed to do. And now you can have the conversation where like, well, why isn't it so dark? It's like, well, we didn't mask anything. We didn't mask the color with, with caramel coloring just to make sure that people thought it was aged. It was aged. It's 4 months. The CRT approved it. You can't get by that, right? So I think for us, the color was something that was really exciting to start the conversation around good reposados as well.
Yeah, I think overall the entire lineup is really great. It's very smart to have that Rosa Blanco to really be something that is not just a special one and done. It is really delicious, and so for you guys to continue to have it and see, again, this is nature, to see how it evolves as it goes on. So, Todd, what is it that you hope people feel or experience when they drink Elevacion 1250?
Wow, that is a great question because I think it could be answered in 100 different ways. But what I would say is this: is that the education behind it, knowing who our master distiller is and the craft that she's come to perfect. Um, I think the education part comes first, to know that this is what tequila is supposed to taste like, and we will take on any of the big brands any day of the week. I want people to, and we get this result a lot. I want people to go like, "Wow, this doesn't taste like my other tequila." And when we're at shows, when we're at tastings, the look on people's face, and there are other people, and you know this as well as I do, because we've all had this story where it's like, "Well, I had a bad experience with tequila." I'm like, okay, it's like, this one's on me. Just try this much and like let me know what you think. And then the look on their face, and that's what I really, really appreciate. Is it because then you can get into the conversation about what's in your tequila, where it's made, how it's made, the region it's made from, who makes it. But when they have that look on their face to go like, wow, this is really good. It's like I almost don't even want to put it in a cocktail. That's kind of the reaction that we're looking for. That's why in this business, you know better than anybody. Ileana knows better than anybody. It is liquid to lips, and when people actually get to try it, that's why I'd rather spend a lot of money from a marketing dollars and cents standpoint on being in front of people, being at tasting shows, being at the Sip Tequila Fest of the world, like that kind of stuff. And I got to throw credit where credit is due. The Vancouver Tequila and Agave show is absolutely incredible. The audience that they get there, and again, the west coast of Canada is a lot more educated as far as agave spirits are concerned. When you have people lined up to try your Rosa because someone walking through the show said the best Rosa of this show is at that booth, that's the kind of reaction that we're looking for. That translates into sales eventually, but to be able to tell the story and get people's reaction going like, oh, this is not the tequila I'm used to. That's what really excites us.
Ileana, how about for you to be a part of this and have it be this is something that's important for you?
It is really important. I will hope that people feel inspired to visit Mexico and to actually see with their own faces the elevations, the mountains, the valley, the canyons, and smell what a fermentation is, what we talk about minerality on the water. I hope they feel inspired to visit Mexico and see what thoughts are down there, to see actually and feel what tequila means to us. And I'm pretty sure that that will be a huge impact on every single person.
Yeah, I love it. And I encourage people to go all the time. And I get to go all the time. I'm going a week from Sunday, and I can't wait to be back there. And while I've not come and visited you, it is on the list, and it is a
Please,
priority to come
please.
spend some time with you guys, because I know you've got a great distillery there. So, Todd, what is on the horizon I know you've got something in your glass that I don't have, but what are some things that you're excited for as you continue with the brand?
Now, had I seen you on the Friday evening of Sip Tequila Fest, I brought this as the
I did
gift.
see it. I know it
Yeah,
was
it
there.
was there.
I
Okay,
know it
good.
was there.
Because we have some mutual friends that have tried it and have absolutely loved it. So, again, less about being innovative, but being about community. We have a distiller here just outside of Toronto. It's called Spring Mill. It is the Sleeman family. And if you are from Canada, not necessarily the US, but you know who the Sleeman family is for twofold. Number one of the largest and fastest growing microbreweries that was bought out by Sapporo. Also, the Sleeman family actually was involved in bootlegging back during Prohibition, and it would actually sail from the river in Guelph, Ontario, down into Lake Michigan, and Al Capone would pick up booze from the Sleeman family. So they have a distillery, and I literally picked up the phone and called John Sleeman himself. He is still with us, and he's the founder of the original brewery and the distillery. And I said, I want to buy one of your barrels, ship it down to Mexico, and put my Blanco tequila in it to produce a reposado. And he's like, all right, you'll have to talk to my son about that. So he put me onto his son, Cooper. We're now really, really good friends. I literally bought one barrel and we shipped it down. I think Ileana was really excited because Quinn Sleeman, his other son, is actually a Cooper. So he actually makes a barrel. So what's unique about this is that the barrel, first and foremost, is Canadian white oak. It was made by one of the few remaining Canadian Coopers in the entire country, and it housed 100% Canadian rye whiskey in it. So this is the result that we have. It is the Elevacion single cask especial, and we have expanded our barrel program with the Sleeman family, and we'll be producing some for the U.S. as well, because I do have a lot of mutual friends that are asking for it. So we'll make sure that we will have a single cask rare drop available in the U.S. In the near future.
Well, I am excited. You did see me that Friday night, but anytime I went out to the floor, I had just so many different brands would just immediately have a glass in their hand and just give it to me and go, try this. So
that's right. Okay, I did catch you for 5 seconds by the bar.
It was hard to get over there and actually pick something that I wanted to try, but I do remember seeing that bottle, and I'm looking forward to once it does hit the U.S. market. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you for continuing to tell the story. Ileana, you are a rock star, and one day you're going to have your own brand with your name on it. No. Thank you for all that you're doing, Todd. I know the passion, and like I said before, thank you for the friendship and supporting what I'm doing, and I'm for you guys, and really love seeing everything that you both are doing. Elevacion 1250tequila.com is the website for people to learn more about it. I know you've got a great relationship with siptequila.com. You've got some other retailers, but easy. If you're in the US, siptequila.com will get it right to you. And they have the entire lineup, correct, of Blanco,
they do.
Rosa,
Absolutely.
and Repo. So if you want to try this, this is something that worth picking up and trying. But Ileana, Todd, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I'm looking forward to spending some time with you all in person, and also continuing to see what you guys come out with. Cheers.
Thanks, Doug. Cheers. Really appreciate you.
Salud.
Thank you.